And so we're recording. So again, I'm just going to say that you're probably going to need a strap for this morning's class. And we'll get going here. So let's make our way over to our mats and we'll begin lying down. So make your way down into a lying down position. And as you lie back, you can have your eyes open or closed, whichever you prefer. Take some time to just notice what it feels like to be where you are right now. You feel that gradual sensation of your body recognizing the floor holding you up, your body relaxing into that support. Allow that to happen. Allow the roof of your mouth to relax. And just begin to connect with the feeling of your breathing. Feel your breath flowing in and feel your breath emptying out. Sometimes we're like rushing around. We're trying to get a lot done or whatever, and we tend to speed things up. And here now, we can just slow things down and let the breath flow slowly, freely, easily, in and out. And as you're lying back breathing, I'm just going to share a reading with you from Danna Falls called One Breath at a Time. Breathe with me in the rhythm of mountain streams, in the hypnotizing cadence of waves breaking on the shore. Breathe in the peace that plays just beneath the agitated surface of the mind. Find the breath that expresses your connection to the silence, to abiding forgiveness, to the shining light of spirit in your heart. Your own true breath can release you from the prison of your fears and plumb the depths of your awareness. It all starts here. The choice to breathe, relax, and feel. The choice to witness without judgment. And allow the truth of life to be revealed. And there's so much in that reading to remind us of what's really essential. What we reveal when we breathe is this truth that this moment is all that we really have. It's nice to think about the past and the future, but this present moment is this gift, this opportunity to choose how we want to experience. And so much of what our experience is clouded by our inclination to judge everything. You know, this moment is good or this moment is bad. But with breathing, it's a good reminder. It just is. It's just the fullness of the present moment. This breath is what we have here now. And so as we practice this morning, as we start to move, we can do the same thing. We can take each movement and just experience for the fullness of what it is, rather than trying to say, I'm doing this right, or I'm doing this wrong, or this is good, or this is bad. Can we just embrace each moment, each movement, each breath for the fullness that it offers? So this experience can be so much more than just moving our bodies. It can be an opportunity to really practice present moment awareness and just appreciation for what we have. So let's spend a few moments here just breathing quietly, just, focusing your thoughts. And then maybe taking one more breath in and out. And then with your next in-breath, you can open your eyes. So we're going to have a focus this morning on knitting our ribs. We talk about this every so often. Let's begin by grabbing onto the ribs. So your hands are cradling your rib cage, the bottom of the rib cage especially. And as you're breathing, you're going to notice there's some movement of the rib cage, up and out as you breathe in and down as you breathe out. And so with your hands on the rib cage, as you exhale, see if you can facilitate a little more movement of the ribs in and down on the exhale, just getting a connection, a feeling of what it feels like when the ribs move in and down on the exhale, and then just let them do their thing on the in-breath. And this movement of the ribs in and down, kind of in and down into the belly, we're calling this knitting the ribs. And you can almost imagine if you were taking like a corset or like even a jacket and kind of snugging it in, or like taking something, wrapping around and tying it. It's kind of knitting the ribs into each other and down towards the belly and down towards the floor. So that's that knitting the ribs action. So now let's lift our heads a little bit off the floor, clasp our hands beneath the head, holding the head a little bit off the floor, weight of the head in the hands, elbows wide. We're going to take a breath in, and as we exhale, we're going to initiate this knitting of the ribs. We're going to draw the ribs in and down and let that action help us begin to lift the head, neck, and shoulders up, trying to get the shoulder blades off the floor. So once we're up, we feel the knitting of the ribs. Could we knit the ribs just a little bit more to maybe lift a little higher? And then we'll inhale and take the head back. You don't have to let it go all the way down though. So exhale and knit the ribs to lift the head, neck, and shoulders, and then inhale and release back. Now this next time we're going to exhale and knit the ribs as we come up, as we've been doing, but then can you keep your ribs knit as you start to take your head back? So don't let the ribs release. Keep them knitting into the belly and let your head go all the way down on your hands on the floor. And then do that again. Exhale, knit the ribs and come up. And then keep the ribs knit as you release the head, neck, and shoulders back. It's a little challenging. The ribs want to pop up. One more time. Knit the ribs to come up. And then keeping them knitting as you take your head back. And let your head rest on your hands on the floor. Let your elbows drop open. Can you keep knitting your ribs even as you're here? And then go ahead and relax the knitting of your ribs. All right, take your hands out from behind your head. Reach your arms up toward the ceiling. Let the back of your shoulders release back into the floor. Take a breath in, and as you're here, knit your ribs. Knit your ribs into your belly. Sometimes I find that I try to cheat and I just try to tuck my tail to try to facilitate knitting the ribs. Try not to involve your low back. Try to have this action coming from your upper belly, from knitting the ribs. All right, so we're knitting the ribs, and then we're gonna reach the arms overhead. So the ribs are gonna wanna pop up, but can you keep your ribs knitting even as your thumbs reach back or as the back of your hands rest on the floor? This can be hard. The shoulders, if the shoulders are tight, the only way to get the arms overhead sometimes is to arch the back. So can we, to try to increase mobility in the shoulders, if we keep the ribs knit, then that movement has to come from the shoulders. So arms are overhead even as the ribs are knitting into the belly. Take a breath. It's kind of hard when you're knitting your ribs. And then bring your arms back up. Great. All right. Let's bend the elbows and we'll take our feet off the floor. We're going to do dead bug. So bent knees, bent arms. Let's inhale, arms and legs up, and exhale, arms and knees bend. And do that a few more times. Just getting, you guys have all done dead bug lots of times. So we'll just stretch out a little bit here with the legs as we go up and down. All right, so from bent knee, bent arm, let's do opposite arm and opposite leg going up as we breathe in, and then bending as we breathe out. So just getting this simple coordinated movement going here. Opposite arm and opposite leg go up, and then they bend. So it's pretty easy to maintain stability with this movement. Here we're just kind of getting the two sides of the brain working together, getting that contralateral movement. Now let's take arms and legs up toward the ceiling. Release the back of your shoulders into the floor. Knit the ribs a little bit for some stability. And then take one leg out to the side and the opposite arm. And see if you can keep the trunk steady and stable. Keep that midline from veering off of center. And then bring that arm and leg back up. And then other side. So nice and slow, opening arm and leg out to the side without any movement in the trunk. And then arm and leg coming back up. You can inhale as the arm and leg open out. And exhale as they come back up. And again, other side, inhaling to open. And exhaling back up. One more time, really focus on keeping that midline stability here. No movement from your chin all the way down to the pubic bone. And as the arm and leg come up this time, we'll transition. So again, we're going to take the arms overhead. So I want you to knit your ribs into your belly and then take one arm overhead and the other leg extending forward. Or you could tap a toe on the leg if that's better for you. And then bring the arm and leg back up. So the arm is going overhead, the ribs are staying knit. You can extend the leg or you could just tap a toe down and then come back up. So opposite arm and opposite leg, breathe in and then exhale, arm and leg back up. Continuing like that. Can you knit the ribs as you're performing this movement? It's a little bit challenging to take a breath in when you're knitting the ribs, but it is doable. So maybe one or two more times on each side here, depending on your speed. Hopefully you're not going too quickly here. Slow and controlled movement. We'll do one more time on each side. Inhaling to extend and exhaling back up. And then the next time your arms and legs are up in the air, release the back of your shoulders down, knit your ribs into your belly, reach your arms overhead. Again, there's some challenge there. Not letting the ribs pop up. Take a breath in And as you exhale, press out through your heels and just begin to let the legs move away from you. So knitting the ribs is going to help to keep the back from arching. And we're going to start to engage the low belly as well here as we lower the legs, trying to keep the back from arching more than a little bit. We'll draw the knees in, inhale the legs up, exhale, letting the legs slowly, gradually move away. How far can you go before your back begins to arch? Your low back begins to arch off the floor. At that point, draw your knees in, inhale your legs up, maybe 1 or 2 more times here, lowering the legs away, paying attention to not letting the back arch. Draw the knees in. Last one here. We'll let the heels press away as the legs lower down. This time as your knees come in, bring your arms back up to the ceiling. Just grab onto those knees, hug them in, release your back, sway a little bit. Notice how you're feeling, and can we notice how we're feeling with an attitude of positivity? You know, what's going on? Can we be aware of it without, you know, finding what's wrong with what we're noticing? All right, release your feet to the floor and roll to your side. Let's roll to the side. You could put a pillow under your head, or you could rest your head on your arm. When we lay on our side, we kind of drop the side waist down into the floor. So can you kind of engage the bottom side waist a little bit to straighten out your spine? Bring your knees kind of straight out forward from your hips. And then take that top leg up so it's about the height of that hip. And extend your heel forward so that leg is straight out towards your device. And we're just going to lift the leg up and lower it down. You can go a little bit higher than your hip, a little bit lower than your hip, a little bit higher than your hip, a little bit lower than your hip, and a couple more like this. We're just waking up those muscles in the hip here. Yeah. One more time, up and down, and then bend your knee again. We're just going to do circles of the hip with a bent knee. So we're circling that knee around a little lower than the hip, forward, up and around. The whole time keeping a little contraction in that bottom side waist if you can. Circle in this direction one more time, and then circle the other way. Just loosening up the hip, building some strength there. Circle around a couple more times. Nice job. All right, just relax that leg on the other leg. Push yourself up. Swing your legs around to the other side. Again, supporting your head in whatever way is comfortable for you. And then bring your knees straight forward from your hips. Your top hand could be on your top hip. Kind of engage that bottom side waist if you can, if that makes sense to you. Lift your top leg up about the height of the hip. And then press that heel forward. And then let's lift the leg a little higher than the hip and drop it a little lower. Lift it up and lower it down. Lift it up and lower it down. So it's a lot more work to support a long leg. So now we're going to make that lever a little shorter. We're going to bend the knee. And then we're going to circle it around. Down, forward, up, and around. Try not to move, the torso. Letting this movement come from the hip. Circling around one more time in this direction. And then let's go the other direction. Circle it up and around. Yeah. Just waking up those muscles and feeling them work a little bit. All right, great. Rest that leg on the other leg. We're going to make our way up onto all fours. So as we come onto all fours, before we were lying on our back and we were knitting our ribs, right, into the belly. So we're going to do that same thing now that we're flipped over. So once you've got your knees beneath hips, your wrists beneath shoulders, your weight spread out into your hands, your spine nice and long, take a breath in And as you exhale, knit your ribs into your belly. Yeah, so again, the tendency is to involve the lower back and tuck the tail. We don't need to do that. We're just going to knit the ribs. So there's just a little support there. And when we have that support, if we move into cow pose, where we lift the tail, where we arch the back, we're not going to let the belly drop as much because we're knitting the ribs. So there's a little support there. So there's less of an arch in the low back, perhaps. But can we now extend the heart forward? So we're knitting the ribs into the belly, which is kind of pulling the lower part of the chest in and down, and then trying to pull the sternum forward. And we're creating the opportunity for a little more openness in the muscles in the chest here. And then keeping the ribs knit, we're going to round. So now that's very natural movement of the ribs knitting into the belly when we round into cat pose. The ribs very naturally knit in. So come back to your long neutral spine. Knit your ribs, maintain that knitting of the ribs as you now start to arch your back. Move into cow pose. So it's going to change the degree of arch in different parts of your spine. But you have the potential for a little greater stretch in the front of the chest as you're knitting your ribs and pulling your heart forward. So again, let's knit the ribs very naturally as we round into cat pose. And then coming back to our neutral spine, can we knit the ribs as we extend and arch? And breathe in. Great. All right, back to neutral spine. So with a little support, with that little bit of knitting the ribs, take one arm, we're just gonna swing it back. Can we take that arm up and around and forward? So we're just trying to create movement in the arm and just the arm. We're knitting the ribs so that torso is not involved. We'll circle that arm one more time in this direction and then just circle it the other way. Now, each of us has different history of injury in our shoulders. Some of us may have some arthritis there. So the mobility in the shoulder is quite varied, but do what you can. Circle that arm around and then place that hand down. Let's do that on the other side. First, a little bit of knitting of the ribs, and then take that other arm and just make circles. You can start in either direction on your circles, but circle in one direction a few times. Trying not to move the trunk, trying to keep the ribs knitting into the belly, and then circle it the other way. Yeah. Let's do two more like this. And then we'll bring that hand down. Let's sit back into child's pose. You can let your forehead come to the floor or rest on your arms. Take a moment here to connect with your breath and to just focus your mind on whatever is important to you in this moment. Great. All right, when you're ready, lift your heads up, reach your arms way out in front, and we'll make our way to downward facing dog. So pressing the hands down, take a moment to just notice how it feels to be here. How does it feel to lengthen your spine? How does it feel to release the neck by letting the head just hang? Perhaps you'd like to bend a knee and pedal a heel to the floor. Or perhaps you'd like to move in some other way. Take this time to move in a way that feels nice, or you might just want to statically hold the stretch. So whatever feels right for you in your down dog here, spend a little time. You might create space between your shoulder blades. You might shake your head a little bit. What feels good? You might move your hips. And then let's bend the knees a bit and see if we can draw the hips, the sitting bones, way back towards whatever wall is behind you. And then breathe in and out. And then we'll walk our hands back towards our feet till our heels come down. We'll end up folded over bent knees. Let's take a deep breath into the upper back. And as we exhale, we'll extend the spine forward. We might have fingertips on the floor. We might have hands on the shins. We're going to draw the heart forward. And then we're going to fold over again. Breathe into the upper back. As we exhale now, let's draw the belly in and begin to roll ourselves up. Slowly, gradually, incrementally, bringing ourselves all the way up to stand. And then we'll find our straps. So, once you've found your strap, you can just stand with your feet beneath you. And for a moment, we're just going to hold the strap in one hand. We're going to come back to this theme of knitting the ribs. So if we stand up nice and tall, and then if we knit the ribs, this action can actually kind of drop us forward. It can kind of bring the shoulders forward, right? When we knit the ribs into the belly. So I want you to try to knit your ribs into your belly. And then, kind of like we did in cow pose, we're going to try and keep the ribs knit and lift the sternum. So the ribs are knitting in, but the sternum is lifting up, right? Actually, drop your strap for a minute. The ribs are knitting in, the sternum is lifting up, and then we want to broaden across the shoulders. So keeping this knitting, start to reach your arms out to the side. So the ribs are knitting into the belly, but we're broadening from shoulder to shoulder. And then can you also broaden from shoulder blade to shoulder blade with your arms extended out? And then keeping the ribs knitting into the belly, take your arms up. So again, sometimes we lift the arms, sometimes to lift the arms, we arch the back. That's sometimes how we get our arms up. So can we keep the ribs knit and lift the arms without pushing the ribs forward? And again, this can be challenging if we have restriction in our shoulders. So we're just going to do the best we can. So take a breath. And maybe as you breathe in, lift your heart a little bit without losing that knitting of the ribs. Lift your gaze a little bit. Yeah. And then we're going to let the arms release down. Okay, so now we're going to try and do that with our strap as well. So holding your strap, standing up tall, we're going to knit the ribs, and then we're going to try and keep the ribs knit, but lift the sternum. And then we're going to pull on the strap, reach the arms forward, pulling it apart, keeping the ribs knit as we take the arms overhead. So the ribs didn't pop forward as the arms are overhead. As we try and pull the strap apart, we're going to bring it down right in front of the chin. And then we're going to reach it up. And could we take it behind the head? If that works for your shoulders, try pulling it behind the head, keeping the ribs knit. Because sometimes to get the strap behind the head, we push the ribs forward. Another thing that we do is we bring the head forward in order to get it behind the head. So can you keep your head back in line with your shoulders and pull it apart? If you need to take your head forward, try not to do that, or maybe just pull the strap in front of the chin while you try not to do that. All right, we're going to go up and down one more time. This next one, you might want to keep going up and down. Some of us might try widening the grip and going all the way back and down. If that feels all right for your chest, for your shoulders, then you can go up and down in that way. And can you do that whole thing with your ribs knitting into your belly? Yeah. Then we isolate the movement in the shoulders rather than involving the spine. And you're pulling the strap apart the whole time. Great. So we're going to take the arms up and we'll bring them forward and down. You can take a little break and set that aside. All right, let's come and stand at the front of our mats. Thinking about rooting down as we stand tall. Can we have a little knitting of the ribs, but still lift the chest? Think about the back of the neck long, the upper part, back of the head lifting up, maybe a little bit of a chin tuck. So we have really nice alignment here, broad across the chest and back. Let's reach the arms out. Then inhale and reach them up. Can we knit the ribs but lift the heart, lift the gaze a little bit as we stretch up? And then we'll swan dive forward. Folding over the legs, releasing the breath. We'll bring our hands to the floor and step back to downward facing dog. Pressing down to lift the hips up and back, we'll breathe in. As we exhale, let's lower to straight arm plank. As we're here, heels pressing back, lengthening through the crown, we'll take a breath. As we exhale, let's use the belly and lift up again to down dog. Take a breath here. Exhale to straight arm plank. Get nice and long, push the floor away. Take a breath. One more time, exhale up to down dog. Take a breath here. Exhale and lower to straight arm plank. Great. Take a breath here. Exhale and just drop your knees down behind you. And then inhale and lift the knees. Exhale and drop the knees. Inhale and lift the knees. One more time. Exhale and drop the knees. Inhale and lift the knees. This time, exhale and drop the knees, and then lower the chest into the floor. And then we're going to push back up to knees. Let's do that again. Lower the chest to the floor and push back up to knees. One more time. Lower the chest down. Push yourself up. This time we'll lower down and we're going to stay down. All right, so we come into prone mountain. Maybe heels of the hands slide back a little bit. Chest sinks down close to the floor. We kind of tuck the chin in and kind of lengthen through the upper back of the head as the toes reach back. So we are once again going to think about knitting the ribs. So as you're here, can you kind of knit your ribs down into your belly? It's kind of different, kind of weird, but give it a try. Knit your ribs into the belly. And as we're knitting the ribs in, now we're going to start to try to lift the chest up, pull the heart forward into our baby cobra. It's challenging to knit the ribs because you're lifting against gravity, right? We're lifting the ribs as we're pulling the heart forward, and then we'll lower back down. Let's try that again. Knit the ribs, and then inhale up to baby cobra. Could we lift the hands, lift the elbows, hug in, and then release back down. This time, we'll knit the ribs. We'll inhale up to baby cobra, and maybe we stay here, or could we keep knitting the ribs and maybe come up a little higher into a cobra? It feels much more supported, but maybe not quite as elastic. And then come back down. Great. All right, let's push up to knees. Curl the toes under and lift the knees. Lift the hips up and back to down dog. We'll breathe in and out here. And then looking a little forward, we'll walk our feet up towards our hands this time, ending up folded over bent knees. And then let's just sweep the arms out. Inhale and rise up. We'll exhale, arms down at our side. All right, again, inhale, reach out and up. Exhale and swan dive forward. Let's bring our hands to the floor and step back to downward facing dog. We'll take a breath in here. Exhale to straight arm plank. We'll take a breath here. As we exhale, we could drop to knees first and lower down, or just lower ourselves down into the mat, into prone mountain. Now from here, I'd like you to take your arms out like a T, straight up from your shoulders. We're going to hover the head, and we're going to try and knit the ribs a little bit. So as we're here knitting the ribs, just looking down into the floor, Lift your arms straight out from your shoulders and begin to do little circles with your arms. So we're lifting the arms up against gravity. So we're working the muscles in the back of the shoulders here. And we can stay with little circles, or maybe you can start to make those circles a little bit bigger. So just play around with this. Can you keep your ribs knit? And how big of a circle could you make here? Just trying to work the muscles in the upper back, back of the shoulders. Circle in this direction 1 or 2 more times. And then let's change direction. Change direction on your circle here. Nice work. Just trying to get a little more mobility in the shoulders, a little more strength and mobility there. Great. All right, you can rest your arms down, and then let's bring them back in to our prone mountain position. Let's inhale up again to baby cobra or cobra, maybe with your ribs knitting in. Exhale back down. And let's make our way up and back to downward facing dog. Great. All right, breathe in and out here. From here, we're going to take one leg up in the air. Big breath in as that leg goes up. We'll bend the knee, dropping the heel towards the bum. Let's sweep that knee up and in, look forward and step through to lunge, or we'll get into our lunge in any way that works for us. We'll get into our low lunge, nice and long from heel to crown. And then we can bring hands to the front knee to come up a little higher into this lunge. And then let's bring our hands to our hips, come up a little higher, and we'll straighten the front leg. So we're orienting our hips towards the short line of our mat. Back heel is pressing back. We're a little upright here. Let's bend the front knee forward and then push the foot down to straighten the leg. We're going to bend that front knee forward, push down into the foot to straighten the leg. Bend the front knee forward, push the foot down to straighten. One more time, bend, and then straighten. All right, we're going to bend the front knee forward now, and then take your arms forward. Yeah. So can you let's knit the ribs a little bit, and then we're going to reach the arms up. So the ribs are knitting down, the arms are reaching up. We'll take a breath in. Then again, bring your arms forward. Take your right arm, the same arm as the leg that's in front, sweep it down behind you. Use your trunk muscles to twist in that direction. Open and twist to the right here. Reaching back through the back arm. Take a breath and then sweep that arm down and bring it forward. One more time, inhale and reach up, knitting the ribs in. And then exhale, hands down to the floor and step back to downward facing dog. Nice job. You can hang out here, take a break on your knees, or we're going to flow straight arm plank, lowering all the way down to prone mountain. Inhaling up to baby cobra or cobra. Exhaling back down and making our way up and back to down dog. Breathing in and out here. And then taking that left leg up in the air, bending the knee, dropping the heel towards the bum, sweep that knee up and in, look forward and step through to lunge, getting into our low lunge here now. Once we're here, we can place hands on the knee to start to bring us up, and then we can bring hands to hips, straighten the front leg, come all the way up here. Feet are hip distance apart. Let's bend the front knee forward. Yeah, feel the weight planted on that front foot and then push down into that foot to straighten the front leg. Yeah, bend the front knee forward, push down to straighten that leg. Bend the front knee forward, push down to straighten. One more time, bend the front knee forward, push down to straighten. This time, bend the front knee forward, stay there. Now, take your arms forward, knit your ribs into your belly, and keeping the ribs knit, inhale and reach the arms up. Great. Now reach your arms forward. Take that same arm as the front leg, sweep it down, reach it behind you, and twist in that direction. Reaching back, open up. Take a breath, and then sweep that arm forward, bring it forward, keeping the ribs knit. One more time, inhale the arms up. And then we'll exhale, hands down to the floor and step back to downward facing dog. Nice. Breathe in and out here. One more time, we'll flow straight arm plank. We'll lower all the way down, prone mountain. Inhale up to baby cobra or cobra. Exhale back down and make our way up and back to downward facing dog. Breathing in and out here. Let's again walk our hands back towards our feet, ending up folded over, soft knees. From here, we're going to bend the knees and lower the hips, bring our hands to heart. We'll keep the hips low and lift the chest up. We'll reach the arms forward and sit back a little bit more. And then we're going to reach the arms up by the ears. We're just going to hold here for 5, 4, 3, 2, nice work, and 1. Let's push into the feet and legs to inhale and rise up. And we'll exhale our arms down at our side. Nice job. All right, we're going to work on balance a little bit. So for this, we're going to do dancer's pose. So some of us can grab our foot, and some of us that's a little more challenging. If that's more challenging, a couple options would be to put your foot against the wall, and then see if you can drop the knee down and take the hip forward. Another option, if you have a wall to hold on to, you could just place a foot on your chair and drop the knee down. The idea is to get the knee down and create a little space in the front of the hip. So maybe you have a foot on the wall, maybe you have a foot on the chair, maybe you can just grab a foot. And as you grab the foot, sometimes the knee is forward or out to the side. And can you work towards getting that knee down next to the other knee? That's level 1. And as you're here, notice if you're pushing your ribs forward or you're arching your low back, can you drop into neutral alignment here? A little knitting of the ribs, relaxing the tailbone down. If you can get there, then start to push the foot into the hand. Reach your other arm forward, and then you could lift that arm up as you take the leg up and back behind you. Trying to keep a little knitting of the ribs, a little space in the low back here. Let's take 1 or 2 more breaths here. And then we can release. Nice. Let's try that on the other side. So some of us have a side that's more challenging. So there's that to play around with. So can we get that knee to drop down next to the other knee? And we might be working towards that. And as we get to wherever our final place that we get to is, can we not be arching the back or pushing the ribs forward? Can we be kind of nicely aligned? And that might be our work for this morning. Or you might push the foot into the hand, take the leg back as the other arm lifts up. Not compressing the low back, with space in the low back, a little containment in the ribs. Let's take a breath here. Great. And then we can release out of that. Great. Okay. Let's take a wide stance. We'll turn the left foot in, turn the right foot out, place our hands on our hips, and we'll bend into the front knee. Bending into that front knee, sinking the hips into this, then pushing the foot down to straighten. Do that just 2 more times. Bend and straighten. This time, just bend. We're gonna be here. So let's bring awareness down into the belly, and from this part of the body, tip the hips over. So not by head first. Hips initiate the movement, arm comes onto that bottom leg. Last week we thought about bringing our head in line. So if your head is forward, bring it back in line. And then you can look down, take that arm that's on the leg, place it on your shin. We'll take your gaze over your foot and see if you can start to straighten that front leg a little bit. Or maybe you can straighten it more than a little bit. But can you straighten that leg without drawing your head back? So you're just creating a little more length in your spine. Take a breath and then bend your knee again. Do that again. Inhale, straighten the leg without your head drawing back. Exhale, let the knee bend. And one more time. Inhale, straighten the leg as much as you can. Try to keep the spine long. And then can you turn the belly and chest towards your device? And maybe reach your top arm up if you like. Breathe in and out here. Push down into your feet and legs to rise up. Great, let's go to the other side. Feet come forward. Go to the other side. We're going to bend and straighten the front knee. Take a little time to just feel your hips dropping into this a little bit. And then bend the front knee. Keep it bent. From the pelvis, tip over. Let this arm come onto this leg. Check if your head is forward. Bring it back in line with your spine. And then turn your head to look down. Take this bottom arm onto your shin. Looking over that front foot, can you start to straighten your front leg? Maybe you straighten it a little bit. Maybe you straighten it a lot. Go ahead and bend it again. Do that again. Try to straighten the leg without your head drawing back. And then bend it again. This time we're going to straighten it and try to keep it there, keeping the spine long. We'll turn the belly and chest towards your device and reach your arm up. Breathe in and out here. And then push down to rise up. Great. Turn the feet in, walk your feet together. We're going to come down to sitting. Come all the way down to sitting. We're going to put our feet together. You could be sitting up on a blanket, if that's better for you. Sitting up so that we're not rounding back. We're rooting the sitting bones down to sit up tall. Let's try to push our feet in and push our knees apart. So we're just, again, working inner and outer thighs, the hips here, pushing the feet in, pushing the knees out, sitting up tall. We'll take a breath. And then release that work. Let's keep the right knee bent, straighten the left leg. We'll put this foot against this thigh, and hopefully your strap is nearby. Go get your strap, otherwise. We're going to place the strap around the ball of the foot of the straight leg. So you're holding onto the strap, your heel presses into the floor, your foot presses into the strap, and it gives you something to hold on to help bring you nice and upright. So for some of us, just being upright is challenging. For some of us, we could hinge forward, which means we're not bending at the waist, we're not bending at the neck, we're just moving from the hip. And, to create some action in this bent leg hip. And maybe a little stretch in this leg. This knee could be a little soft. If your hamstrings are tight, it's hard to have this leg straight. This knee could be a little bent here. So can you hinge forward? How does that feel? You might walk your hands a little further down the strap. So play around with your ability to hinge forward here. Again, feel free to let this straight leg knee be bent a little bit. Take a breath in. And then let your back round. So let your low back round, your mid back, your upper back. Again, this front knee could be bent here if that's better for your back. Your hands might walk further down your strap as you're doing this. Some people might be able to grab their foot And then your hands press into your foot rather than your strap. And we're going to just breathe into the back and let the breath go. Do that one more time. Breathe into your, like your mid back. And let the breath go. And just sort of draw the belly in and roll yourself up. Great. Let's change legs. Just straighten. Right leg out. Bend the left knee. Placing that foot against the thigh. Taking the strap and wrapping it around the ball of the foot. So it's not in the arch of your foot, it's in the ball of your foot. And then you can hold on to the strap to bring you nice and upright. And again, for some of us, being upright is enough. It's like as far as we can go. And that's fine. Or could you hinge forward? It's just coming to the edge of where your body allows you to go. Everybody's hips are really different. So our ability to move when our hips are in different directions is quite variable. So for some people, it's quite easy to hinge forward. For some, it's really challenging. Some of us are restricted by tight hamstrings, so we can just bend the knee as we hinge forward. And we'll take a breath in our hinged position. And then as we exhale, we're going to let the back round. So the low back, the mid back, the upper back. Maybe your hands walk further down the strap. Maybe they can grab onto the foot and press into the ball of the foot. Let's breathe into the upper back. And let that breath empty. And one more time. And a little drawing into the belly to support rolling yourself up. Great. All right. Let's take this bent knee and bring it up and cross it over. Grab on and sit up tall. Take the bent knee that's in front, take that arm behind. Take your other arm and do whatever you like to do for your twist. Root down and straighten up, breathe in, and then twist in the direction of that arm that's behind you. Once you've twisted around, take a deep breath in and out. And then release yourself back around. Great. Let's change legs. So straighten that leg and cross the other leg over. The leg that crosses over, that arm goes behind. The other arm can do whatever works best for you. Root to rise, breathe in, and exhale and twist. Once you've twisted around, take a deep breath in and out. And then release back around. Nice job. All right, we'll uncross our legs and we'll start to transition onto our backs. So it's a little bit chilly out today. So if you're chilly, go ahead and find a layer and put it on, or cover up with a blanket or something, or put on some socks. We don't want to get cold because then all our muscles tighten up. And then you might want to put something under your head or under your knees. Set yourself up to be comfortable. Make your way to lying down. And once you're lying down and comfortable, you might let your eyes close. So just as we did at the beginning, we're just going to let the body experience the sensation of relaxation. But now that we've worked the body, the muscle engagement and the deep breathing that we've been practicing is going to allow us to relax at a deeper level. than we did at the beginning of class. The practice enables deeper relaxation. So we always make this time and space for that. Let the body experience relaxation. The state of the body and the mind at rest. This relaxation is a little gift to ourselves. The relaxation of the body contributes to the relaxation of the mind. And if our mind can rest, it can help the body to relax. Two are so linked. So as you're lying back relaxing, I'm just going to share one more reading this morning. This is from Mark Nepo. He calls it Out from Under. And it begins with a quote from Job, where Job says, "All the darkness, I'm going to walk into the light." And then Mark Nepo says, "Sometimes there's just too much to consider, too much to understand and analyze, too many consequences to play out in our mind, too many things to clean, unpack, or repair before we can go out and play. Sometimes the simplest and best use of our will is to drop it all and just walk out from under everything that is covering us, even if only for an hour or so. Just walk out from under the webs we've spun, the tasks we've assumed, the problems we have to solve. They'll be here when we get back, and maybe some of them will fall apart without our worry to hold them up. Wouldn't that be nice?" So, yeah, we can let all those worries go in this time of relaxation. And maybe we'll pick them back up when we come out. Or maybe we'll realize that they're not as bad as we thought. So we can start to slowly, gradually transition out of our relaxation now. Or of course, you're welcome to just continue. But you might start to bring your feet to the floor. You might gently roll to your side, spend a little time there. You might make your way all the way up to sitting. And we could spend a few final moments closing out our practice. Time for reflection or gratitude. Even with all the craziness going on in our world, we always have so much abundance, so much to be thankful for. I thank you all for being here this morning, and I wish you a wonderful day. Peace. And if you want to come and say hello or goodbye, you can do so. If you need to head out, you can do that as well. It's been nice to be with you. Thank you, Carrie. Have a good weekend.